Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, and distinguished guests. I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's panel discussing the role of sustainability R&D in Greenfield projects. As we navigate the complexity of environmental challenges, the need for innovation solution is paramount. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from leading experts driving some of the world's most ambitious giga projects in the kingdom and globally. I'm excited to host our panel today. We have with us, with 20 years of experience across the food industry worldwide, Dr. Juan Carlos Montamayor leads Topian, the Neom food company. He previously worked at global food leaders in agriculture, aquaculture, and sustainable business development roles, and has worked as a scientific advisor for governments and diverse organizations. Also with us, Mr. Oriol Teixido, who has a strong expertise and passion in implementing research to promote science-based policies and effective decision-making. He has been a researcher, a government official, a consultant, and a team leader. Since 2021, he was appointed as an advisor to the World Health Organization, and since 2023, he is the Middle East Director for Ricardo, advising governments and private sector entities all over the world. During our panel, we will discuss how these projects are innovating in areas such as water management, environmental protection, and sustainable agriculture. By establishing themselves as global hubs for sustainability, these initiatives set a powerful precedent for integrating sustainability into economical growth. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we're going to start with some of our questions, dear panelists. So we'll start with you, Juan Carlos. So in your opinion, why is sustainability-focused R&D critical for giga projects like Neom, and what drives this approach?
Hey, thank you. And first, thank you to the organizers for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon. It's a great, very well-organized event. So, as you may know, the giga projects aim to contribute to the diversification of the economy of the kingdom. And if we think on what industries should we focus to contribute to this diversification, we should consider those that are not yet fully developed yet, those that, however, we think they're going to be more and more demanded in the future, because developing new industries will take many years, right? So one of the key vision points of Neom is to develop future-forward industries that are addressing some of the key challenges humanity is facing today. And we have talked today a lot about food security and about climate change. And people don't necessarily associate climate change with food security as much as we should. We talk a lot about the impact of climate change on increased temperatures, on floodings or drought, but we are not realizing sometimes that with each degree temperature increase, we can expect up to 7% yield losses in key crops. And what is the impact of this is that countries like the kingdom that depends on imports for key crops have to focus on developing solutions to these needs that will become more and more demanded in the future because there will be changes in regulations to address climate change. There will be changes in consumer preference to address climate change towards products, production systems that are, for example, more efficient on water use, for example. So this is why in Neom we believe that solutions in terms of water use efficiency for food production, in terms of climate-proof agriculture, in terms of focusing on fish, which is a source of protein that when grown in the sea requires much less water than livestock, for example, is something that the kingdom should focus on, as well as alternative sources of proteins from plant-based to cell-based. So those are three key areas of focus, and the reasons I explained, these are industries that for the kingdom are strategic, but also if we can demonstrate that with our water scarcity, with our higher temperatures, we are highly productive, we are profitable, we can export these solutions to many regions in the world where we see the impact of climate change.
Very, very important, as you mentioned, the importance of bringing R&D to the local contexts, to the challenges that are faced, to really looking forward at how the world is changing and how to advance it. Oriol, if we look at the consultancy space on engineering consultancy, transforming and bringing the solutions to those giga projects. Usually, as an organization like Ricardo PLC, you provide consultancy, solution development, and execution to such mega projects. In some cases, the challenges in the context is globally new. So, as was highlighted by Juan Carlos, there is new challenges that we're facing. How does R&D play a role in such implementation, and how is it used to attain sustainable goals?
Thank you, Mr. Rami, for the question, and thank you for the organization also for hosting me. And I completely agree with Juan Carlos. We are in an environment where we have a global problem. For me, also, it's important to understand what is the individual repercussion of that one. And if you allow me, I wanted just to zoom out and step back a little bit and think, why are we here? Why are in the COP16? Why we are in the Sustainability Innovation Week? It's because many, many years ago, in 1992 in Rio, we realized that we were not walking the pathway of a sustainable future. We were not doing good to our planet. Mm-hmm. We were also not doing good to the species that live on our planet, and we were not doing good to the health of us, the population. Mm-hmm. And I believe that this is key. In order to drive innovation, in order to drive R&D, as we hear this morning, we need clear goals, we need a clear vision. It's scientifically proven that we are damaging the planet, we are increasing the temperature of the overall planet and our oceans. So this is dangerous, but at the same time, if we are implementing in the right pathway, what we are doing is saving lives. Mm-hmm. And scientists has told us, for example, the Lancet Path Down report tells us that if we go on a net zero pathway, we'll be saving 3.5 million lives every year because air pollution. Mm-hmm. We'll be saving 10 million lives every year if we go for more healthy diets. Why? Because healthy diets are less emissions from some types of animal production, but also more healthy people because we are eating items that do not give us cholesterol or risk. And also it would save 3.5 million lives every year if we move to public transportation, active transportation. So I believe I think we already know the global scale of the problem. I think that maybe now it's time to bring it back to the individual level, bringing it back on how we build the new projects of the future, because once we touch us as individuals, we can implement what is needed.
Okay, thank you very much. And you know, with NEOM, one of your taglines or your missions, Juan Carlos, is you're building future-proof food systems. So, what are you currently doing in terms of key sustainability innovations, and how do they align with the global priorities?
So we heard today in various presentations in this stage that in the kingdom, 80% of water use is utilized or is focused on agricultural needs. And I believe the global average is around 75%. Mm-hmm. So with the projected demand between supply and demand to reach 40% by 2030, we need to learn how to produce food with significantly less water per kilogram. So for example, if we look at tomato grown in traditional ways with relatively good temperatures, you need at least 60 liters per kilogram of tomato. But if you look at the vertical systems or highly high-tech greenhouse systems, I would say you need 4 liters per kilogram. So one of our key areas is what we call climate-proof agriculture, and again, our focus is water use efficiency. And for that, we have developed various systems of high-tech greenhouses, mid-tech greenhouses, and vertical farm systems. In aquaculture, as mentioned, is also a source of protein that requires less fresh water, significantly less than livestock, for example, or poultry. However, there is the perception, and there is data also that support that there are many aquaculture production systems that have negative impact onto the environment, or the overall perception is that all aquaculture actually has a negative impact on the environment or have not good quality and so on. So we are focused on developing new production systems in the sea and also on land of fish that has significantly less impact. We have what we call enclosed sea cages that filters all the water that is used to grow the fish in the sea and filters out all the water as well, so that we collect all the biosolids. And as well, we have systems on land that will also collect all the solids, all the biosolids. So these are long-term strategic investments that we are focusing on, but we had the presentation earlier today from Professor Marina, I believe was her name, where she showed how important it is for governments to invest on fostering innovation. And we believe that we need to invest on these kind of demonstrations of technology so that we bring additional private partners to scale up the most efficient ones. And on novel foods as well, we are building pilot plants to validate the technologies, validate the market, and then look for investors to then scale up.
So those pilot solutions, those collaborations with academia, with government, are helping you build the next generation of innovations that could maybe be tested, scaled in NEOM, and go globally.
Correct.
Excellent. So going to you, Oriol, climate change, water sustainability, air quality are some of the concerns that need to be addressed in the context of the kingdom. What approaches are put in place to build right and scale right?
Yeah, from my point of view, the biggest game changer in the kingdom is that if we look at the vision and objectives of all the mega projects, they all have sustainability there. So for the first time in history, sustainability is embedded at the beginning. Before, in Europe, America, Asia, you used to build any project, any factory, and at the end of the process, because the environmental agency was asking for some permits, some regulations, there were some sustainability embedded in most of the big ones. Here, the change is at the beginning, and this is very important. Also, as we heard this morning, we need a systematic approach. We need to understand what are the links from one place to another one, which are the links between energy and transportation, between transportation and pollution, between pollution and water, water and food, food and health. Again, going back to my previous point, and health and happiness. Happiness also is having people engaged, having people healthy and people having also engaged. It will allow us for this innovation that we are looking for. So it may look simple, but for me, having this event here, having sustainability in all the mottos, is what is starting to drive since the beginning the mindset around in the kingdom.
Okay. You've talked about happiness, you've talked about the individual, And at the end of the day, those cities or giga projects that are being built are for those communities, for the future, for not necessarily the far future, the near future, and potentially the far future. As we are today in the UNCCD COP16, we're working on combating desertification. There's a link between land, water, and air pollution. So can you tell us a bit more about an innovation or the innovations that are being put in place to help us breathe better air, for example? How can science and innovation play a role in that, to reach that happiness somehow?
Yeah, happiness and well-being for me are instrumental, and we have to work in that direction as much as possible. Unfortunately, in the case of air pollution, 99% of the population in the world are living unhealthy. So what can we do to move into that direction? Well, if we check climate change again is increasing the temperatures, it's reducing the water available. Desertification, our colleagues are telling us that it's increasing, so sun and dust storms are increasing in this region especially. Can we do something? Definitely yes, we are doing. And maybe for the sake of time I will share two ideas that we are already implementing now in place. The first one is to monitor what is going on. Do we have enough information? Up to today there were some installations which are quite expensive to take. We knew that there were low-cost solutions, but we didn't know how to make them useful. So in the last couple of years, we have developed a technology using AI, which help us bring this low-cost technology to the same level of quality of the reference stations that allow us to have a broader coverage, for example, in all the kingdom, all the GCC, or also, for example, in Africa, where that is much needed. So for a much reduced cost, we can have information about what is going on. So this is part A of the solution. Part B, what we are already implementing also, is what we are interested is to forecast what will happen tomorrow. So traditionally, there are chemical and physical modeling tools. Now, with the use of data mashing and artificial intelligence, we are able to have those much more accurate, much more faster. So now I have the data of what's happening now and what's happening tomorrow. The important now is to share it again to the people, being also with an actionable input into that, what you can do. So maybe if we had that information and we know that there is a sandstorm, so this evening maybe we have a gathering, maybe let's go indoors, because if we are outdoors we will be exposed to that. With that you are automatically saving lives. I can inform the hospitals and let them know, look, this is coming, so probably that you have more asthma attacks, so please have the medications ready. So in this case, these are two already existing uses of artificial intelligence, and something I wanted to say, this is not PowerPoint AI, this is not magic AI, because we have seen a lot of it also. We have to be very careful on that one. We have to use AI in those places where they have enhanced the existing or create new things, but always based on the truth and on the science. So that's why I think R&D is important, because it's based on the science.
Okay. So we've talked about science-based, natural biology science-based solutions. We looked at water. We looked at, AI in building models that work. We talk about giga projects. We're talking about mega cities and solutions. How can, science, engineering, and technology be embedded in those sustainability plans initially? Oriol, you mentioned that now all those projects have a sustainability plan. So here we're bringing technology, science, engineering, and R&D that are really playing a transformational role in the way we're looking at building those giga projects. If we go back to NEOM with you, Juan Carlos, NEOM is working on those solutions. How do you see the integration of those sustainability R&D to ensure they are scalable and adaptable? Because we see things evolving, we see things scaling. You've talked about piloting with university, piloting with governments to make sure that there are opportunities to test. In the sessions in the morning, we've seen that there are, testing sandboxes for those technologies and innovations to be tested. But I believe one of the aspirations of NEOM is not just NEOM itself, it's about taking this and sharing it with the world. So tell us more about that vision, that way of going, and what are the tools that you're using to get there?
So I mentioned that we're focused on vertical farming and alternative proteins, alternative meat, and so on. But maybe some of you have seen in the news in the last 2 years a lot of companies in those spaces that have either gone bankruptcy or that had to de-escalate their production capacity because there was a buzz about these new industries and significant investment, and these companies, to show their investors that they were growing, started to burn cash too fast. So we are definitely not doing that. We are, as mentioned, focused first on demonstrating which technologies are the most adapted to the environment we have here with higher temperatures, water scarcity, etc. Again, conditions that are very common in many areas of the world where we see the impact of climate change. And we do this proof of concept projects, these commercial scale pilots with lots of sensors, for example, for the enclosed cages or for the high-tech high-tech greenhouses and vertical farms, and where we compare multiple technologies, and then we measure which ones allow us to project where they would be highly profitable or cost efficient if we scale up beyond 10 hectares to 100, 500 hectares, and so on. So this allows us to de-risk production, de-risk scaling up technologies that have not been proven, number one. This allows us also to learn which one are the best. Once we know the best, we grow only on modular fashion. So, for example, with aquaculture, we have a plan now for 5,000 tons. We go to 10,000 tons for RAS, for example. And then we do all of this in parallel with commercial tests with consumers to make sure that the commercial models that we're building based on the production data are backed up by the consumer acceptance of the products that we are going to produce on these new production systems. Because part of the problem also is that some of these companies I mentioned started scaling production and the consumer preference was not there yet. So we know that in some cases we have to grow the market, and we will grow production in parallel or accordingly at how we grow the market for these new product categories.
Very interesting. That's very interesting. So really making sure things are scaling right, scaling with the people's interests, scaling with the financial interest of the investors, and ensuring that anything that is put in place to make those solutions make sense to the future of the population that we're serving. Okay, now, if I am to ask you a question in few words for both of you, can you share your aspiration on how such sustainable innovation would that are nurtured in Saudi Arabia can be scaled worldwide? Because Saudi is a growing country, it's on a fast track, it has a population that is growing, dreaming, and aiming to really make a huge difference. What are your aspirations on such sustainable innovations, and how can it, nurture the future of this country?
So if you want me to start, so for me, if I think one thing to export is this ambition and knowing that things are possible to be made different. We don't have to be shy to try.
Yeah, I think we need the support of the consumers as well. We need the support of the consumers to understand that the products that come from high-tech greenhouses, for example, where there is no use of pesticides, is better for their health, and they are this way also contributing to the planet because we are using less water and so on. So bringing this knowledge to the consumer will require an industry effort, but also a government support.
Amazing. So if I am to summarize a bit our session and bring in a few learnings to our public. So we've talked about the human-centric approach, people at the heart of those innovations. We've talked about technology, innovation, and science that are at the service of, the sustainability of the environment, the people, and the future. Juan Carlos, you mentioned about the consumer, the people that will be using, and how can we engage them. And I think this is a perfect forum where the government, the public institution, the private institution, and research are all teaming up together. We've seen you on the stage in the morning where you were talking about your collaboration with academia, with government participation. Oriol, with the work that you're doing along with other consultants and engineering companies, are bringing the sustainability at the heart of the plan and implementing solutions to make it happen. We've talked about happiness, so all what we need to do is make sure that we continue that road, make sure that science and innovation are driving that change, that the government, as it shows with all their sustainability plans, are putting the front foot forward to make that transformation. And we're hoping that the consumer at the end of the day will engage in that transformation to make the future more sustainable and more fair and better for everybody. Thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.